Hey everybody, welcome to the Jayda and Stitches show. It's October, so it's time for the next installment in our calendar blanket of 2017. And this month, we're going to do a jack-o'-lantern. Now, if you're not into Halloween or jack-o'-lanterns, you can just make this a pumpkin square, and it's just as cute. You can also play with the colors. I chose a bright green background so that I could show you guys sort of how bright it looks against the pumpkin, but black would be really dramatic, or even a rich purple. After all, Halloween is all about crazy colors. So, without further ado, let's head into the craft table, grab our hooks and our yarn, and we will stitch up the October square together. In order to make our jack-o'-lantern squares, you're going to need approximately 30 grams of your main pumpkin color, 30 grams of your background color, 15 grams of your border color, and small amounts for the small appliques we're doing. I'm using 100% worsted weight acrylic yarn. It's the same yarn I've used for all my other squares. I'm using a nice pumpkin colored orange for my pumpkin, a nice bright yellow for his facial features, and some brown for the stem. I'm using white for my border, which I've used for all my other squares, and for the background today, I'm going to use this really rich purple, so I'm going to make that pumpkin really pop out. You're going to need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and we're using a 5.5 millimeter hook or an I-9. And once you've got all that together, we can get started. We're going to begin with our pumpkin. So we're going to start with a cinch circle. Once you've chained one to secure your cinch circle, chain two more. This chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and into your circle, working over top of your short tail, you're going to work 11 double crochets into your cinch circle. So at the end of row 1, you will have 12 double crochets. That includes your chain 3. Once you've worked 11 double crochets, find the top of your, cinch your circle shut first, find the top of your chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and join with a slip stitch. You will have 12 double crochets, including your chain 3, in total. That's the end of row 1. And here we go. Row 2. Chain 2. This is the height of a half double crochet. You're going to half double crochet into the same stitch as joining. And you can work over your little short tails if you like. You're going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. And into the next 6 stitches, you're going to work 2 double crochets into each of them. So 2 double crochets into each of the next 6 stitches. After you've worked 2 double crochets into each of those 6 stitches, work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. That brings us back to the very beginning. We're going to work a half double crochet into the false stitch. That's this little stitch that sits at the bottom of the chain 3. So it doesn't really count as a stitch. But we're going to work a half double crochet into it, skip over top of the chain 2, and join with a slip stitch to the top of the first real half double crochet. So adding that extra stitch at the end of the row in the false stitch does not change your stitch count. You will have 24 stitches all the way around. That's 12 half double crochets and 12 double crochets. And this kind of oblong shape is what we're going to build over the next few rows for our pumpkin. Here we go in row 3. We're going to chain 2, half double crochet into the same stitch as joining, half double crochet into the next stitch, and you're going to work 2 half double crochets into the next stitch and a half double crochet into the next stitch. Repeat that once more, and then we're going to do some double crochets. All right, that's your half double crochets. We're going to work double crochets now over the next 12 stitches like this. Work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. So that little repeater of 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet. You're going to repeat that 6 times in total, and that will cover the next 12 stitches. After that, you should have 18 double crochets in total. Now we're going to switch back down to half double crochet, and we're going to work 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and a half double crochet into the stitch after that. You're going to repeat that twice more, and that will bring us back to the beginning. That brings you back to the false stitch. You're going to work 1 half double crochet into the false stitch, or that little stitch that sits at the bottom of the chain 2, skip over the chain 2, join with a slip stitch to the first half double crochet, and that's row 3 completed. You will have 18 half double crochets and 18 double crochets for a total of 36 stitches. Row 4. We're going to chain 2, half double crochet in the same stitches joining, half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and we're going to make a little repeater of 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So you're going to repeat that once more, and then we're going to switch things up again. So that's 12 half double crochets, and for now we're including our little chain 2, but we're going to skip it at the end. And now we're going to do 24 double crochets. So we're switching back to double crochet, and this is the new repeater pattern. Work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. You're going to repeat that 6 times in total, and that will give you 24 double crochets. That's 24 double crochets. We're switching back to half double crochet, 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Repeat that 3 times in total, and that brings us back to the false stitch. That's another 12 half double crochets. That brings us up to the false stitch. We're going to half double crochet into it, skip over the chain 2, and join with a slip stitch to the first half double crochet. That completes row 4, and you should have a sort of oblong oval beginning. This is a little baby pumpkin. That's 48 stitches in total, 12, and it's 24 of half double crochet and 24 of double crochet. We're going to begin row 5 now and change things up again. Chain 1, we're going to use single crochet. We're going to work 2 single crochets into that same stitch as the joining, and we're going to single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And you're going to repeat that little repeater of 2 single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, 3 times in total, and then we're going to switch things up. Alright, that should be 15 single crochets. We're going to switch to half double crochet. We're going to work 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and a half double crochet into each of the next 3. That'll be 5 half double crochets in total. We're going to switch to double crochet, so 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and a double crochet into each of the next 3, and you're going to repeat that 2 double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet 4 times in total for a total of 20 double crochets across the bottom of your pumpkin. Alright, so far in row 5 we have 15 single crochet, 5 half double crochet, and 20 double crochet. We're going to switch back to half double crochet. You're going to work 2 half double crochet into the next stitch, and a half double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So that's a total of 5 half double crochets. And now we're going to switch back to singles for the rest of this row. 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. Repeat that little repeater 3 times total, and that'll bring you back to the false stitch. That's 15 single crochet. That brings you back up to the beginning. There's your little false stitch. You're going to skip it this time because we began with 2 real single crochets, and you're just going to join with a slip stitch to your top of your first real single crochet. That's a total of 60 stitches. You should have 30 single crochets, 10 half double crochets, and 20 double crochets. And there's your little pumpkin starting. We've got one more row to use this nice orange color. And here we go. Chain 1. You're going to work 2 single crochets into the same stitch as joining. So get in there. Might be a little tight. You're going to single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And you're going to repeat that twice more. So 2 single crochet into the first stitch, single crochet into each of the next 4, and repeat that for 3 times in total. That's 18 single crochets. We're going to switch to half double crochets now. You're going to work 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and a half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And you're going to repeat that 6 times in total. So you'll have 36 half double crochets across the bottom of your pumpkin. That's 36 half double crochets now. We're switching back to singles for the rest of this row. And the pattern is 2 single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, and you're going to repeat that 3 times in total for a total of 18 more single crochets. Your last single crochet should butt you right up against that false stitch, which we're going to skip because we started with 2 real single crochets. So just join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet of that row, and that is it for our pumpkin. You should have 72 stitches in total all the way around, and something that looks a little bit like this. So the center of your circle is further up and offside. This is an oblong little oval we've made to look like a pumpkin. That's it for our pumpkin color. You can snip your yarn and fasten off. You can work over your short tail or leave it to the back and weave it in later. It's up to you. And now you want to grab your background color. We're going to begin with a slip knot. And this little row, row number 7, is our secret row. There's actually an extra row in this pattern, and this is it. So row number 7 begins with a slip knot on your hook. You're going to join your yarn in the stitch next to where you fastened off. So just slip your hook into that stitch and join with a single crochet. And now you're just going to single crochet into every single stitch all the way around. You'll still have 72 stitches, and if you tend to be a tight crocheter, try and loosen up a little bit for this row. Just relax your hands, relax your wrists, relax your shoulders. You don't want to make this row very tight, and it's just simple single crochet all the way around. At the end of row 7, you should have 72 single crochets all the way around, and you're going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet that you joined your new color with. This slip stitch is going to count for row 8. Row 8 is where we're going to begin to square things up. And that is this row right here with the nice big corner sort of spaces. So this row is a little bit different than some of the other squaring up rows we've done in the past. And I'm going to take you through it every single stitch because it's quite a doozy. So here we go, everybody. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. We're going to single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Half double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So that's 2 wraps to begin with. You want to wrap your yarn twice around your hook. 1, 2. And now we're going to double treble into the next stitch. So that's 3 wraps around your hook to begin. And then wrap through 2, wrap through 2, wrap through 2, wrap through 2. That's a double treble. Chain 2. Into the next stitch you're going to double treble again, so 3 wraps. Treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, so that's back down to 2 wraps. Double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Half double crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to single crochet across each of the next 6 stitches. After 6 single crochet, you're going to half double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, so that's the 2 wrap. 2 wraps before you begin. And double treble into the next stitch. So that's 3 wraps around your hook. Chain 2. Double treble into the next stitch. Treble crochet into the next stitch, so that's back down to 2 wraps. Double crochet into the next 2 stitches, so just 1 wrap. Half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches, and remember to keep those slip stitches nice and loose because you don't want them to be tight because you do need to use them again. Single crochet into each of the next 2. Half double crochet into each of the next 2. Double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. 1 treble crochet into the next stitch, and then double treble into the next stitch. So back to the 3 wrap. Chain 2. Double treble into the next stitch. Treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Half double crochet into the next stitch, and single crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. After 6 single crochet, we're going to half double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, treble crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Double treble into the next stitch. Chain 2, double treble into the next stitch, treble crochet into the next 2 stitches, double crochet into the next 2 stitches, half double crochet into the next stitch, single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. That brings you back to the slip stitch from the previous row that counted for this one. You're going to slip stitch into that stitch and take a break. That was row 8. That was our squaring up row. You can stretch out your corners, use the heat of your hand to flatten out your square, and you should see your squat little pumpkin, so your pumpkin shape sitting inside a square now. Take a break, everybody, stretch out those fingers, and we'll get into row 9. Alright, so we're at the end of row 8. You should have 72 stitches and 4 chain 2 corners. So you still have 72 stitches and 4 chain 2 corners. And if you're going to count your chains, then you have 80 stitches in total. Here we go, row 9. We're going to chain 3 to begin. This chain 3 counts as a double crochet. You're going to double crochet into every single stitch all the way up to your chain 2 space, and when we get there, I'll show you what that looks like. Once you reach your chain 2 space, so you're double crocheting in every single stitch, you get to the chain 2 space, you're going to work 2 double crochets into that space, chain 2 for your corner, and work 2 more double crochets into that space. Remember that when you leave the corner, you want to pull back a little bit to expose the top of that next stitch you want to work. And you're going to continue working a double crochet into the top of every single stitch. And when you get to a chain 2 corner, work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into it, and repeat that all the way around. At the end of row 9, when you've worked your last double crochet, you can skip that false stitch. We're not going to use it. We're going to use the top of the chain 3 that we began with, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to it. And you should have 88 stitches and 4 chain 2 spaces, or 22 double crochets across each side in between your chain 2 spaces. That's how you measure row 9. Row 10 is a repeat of row 9. You're going to chain 3 to begin. You're going to double crochet into the top of every single stitch, and you're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into every single corner. And I'll see you back round at the beginning. At the end of row 10, you're going to skip over the false stitch, join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, and that completes row 10. You should have 26 double crochet across each side for a total of 104 double crochets and 4 chain 2 spaces. You can snip your yarn now. That's it for the background color. Fasten off, grab your yarn needle, and take a minute to weave in all of your little tails. We're going to begin our border now. So grab your border color. For me, that's white. We're going to begin with a slip knot. Pick up your square, grab any chain 2 corner, and join with a slip stitch. Chain 3. This counts as a double crochet. Work 2 more double crochet into that corner. You can work over your short tail like I am, or you can weave it in later. Chain 2 for a corner, and work 3 more double crochet into that corner space. And those are shells. 3 double crochet equals 1 shell. and that is a corner. Shell, chain 2, shell. Chain 1, heading out of your corner. Skip 3 stitches, find the 4th, and work a shell into it, or 3 double crochets. Chain 1, skip 3 stitches, find the 4th, and work 3 double crochets or 1 shell into it. And you're going to repeat that a total of 6 times. So 4 more times after this, you work a shell, chain 1, skip 3 stitches, find the 4th, work a shell, chain 1, skip 3 stitches, find the 4th. That'll bring you up to the corner. You'll be 2 stitches away from your corner. Don't worry about those 2 stitches. When you get to your corner, work 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, or shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1 into that corner space. And you're going to repeat this all the way around. After your corner of shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1, skip 3 stitches, shell, chain 1, skip 3 stitches, shell, chain 1, and so on. You'll have 6 single shells across each side, and shell, chain 2, shell in each corner. And I'll see you back at the beginning. Once you get to the end of row 11 and you've worked your last shell, chain 1, skip the last 2 stitches, find the top of that chain 3 that you began with, and join with a slip stitch. You should have 32 shells in total, so that's 6 singles across each side and 2 in each corner. Each shell is separated by a chain 1, and your corners have 2 chains in each corner. And that is the square. You can fasten off, take a moment to weave in all of your short tails, and we will get on with the little bits and pieces that make up a jack-o'-lantern. We're going to begin with the stem of our jack-o'-lantern. So grab your brown yarn and your hook, and here we go. We're going to begin with a slip knot, and we're going to chain 9. Once you have 9 chains, careful not to twist them, into the second chain from the hook. So skip the first one, find the second one. You're going to half double crochet. You're going to half double crochet into each of the next 2 chains. Double crochet into each of the next 3 chains. And treble crochet into each of the last 2 chains. That's it. Leave yourself a nice long tail so that you can sew your stem to the top of your little pumpkin. Take a moment to grab your yarn needle and weave your little short tail in across the back of your stem piece. Before we make the rest of our jack-o'-lantern pieces, we're going to sew on our pumpkin stem. So you want to take your pumpkin stem and set it down about 1 row. So over top of that last row of single crochet, you're going to set it down just a little bit so that the pumpkin looks like it's kind of coming in. And then you're going to turn your stem so that it looks like it's a little bit gnarly, because stems that pumpkins grow off of are very twisty. So we're going to twist our pumpkin stem just so that it tucks in underneath the border color. Now you can pin this into place if you feel you need to, or you can hold it down with your thumb like I'm going to. And then you're just going to use my little trick where you pick up a piece of a stitch on your square, so don't go all the way through, and then go through the very edge of your applique piece. Pick up the next stitch that corresponds to the next placement of your applique, and that is how you're going to sew down all of your applique pieces. So you use the top facing bits of stitches from your square, and you just sew along the edge all the way around of your applique. And what that does is keep all of your stitches from showing through to the back. So keep stopping ever so often, especially if you didn't pin it down, to make sure that your stem's still in the right place. Hold it down, and then just very simply and take your time, work your way around the entire outside edge of your stem. Once you've finished sewing all the way around your little applique, you can make a simple little knot by picking up a piece of the stitch on the side of your applique and knotting off your yarn. If you hold the knot close to your applique and pull tightly, it should make the knot very small and very difficult to see. Then you can just weave your yarn in through some of the stitches right across the top. Because it's the same color, it's not going to show through. But if you're using slippery yarn, then you want to make sure that you go back and forth a few times, just so that your tail doesn't work its way back out anytime in the future. So there's our little pumpkin square so far. If you're just making a pumpkin, you can stop here and your square is complete. But for the rest of us who are going to make ours into a jack-o'-lantern, this little fella right here, stay tuned, we're going to make his eyes and his mouth now. Now we want to make his eyes, so we're going to make 2 of these triangle shapes. Grab your bright yellow yarn and your hook. We're going to begin with a slip knot. Chain 6 to begin. And here we go. Skip the first stitch, find the second stitch from the hook, and slip stitch into it. Single crochet into the next stitch. Half double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. And treble crochet, so that's 2 wraps, into the last stitch. That's it. Make sure you leave yourself enough tail that you can sew all the way around your eyepiece. Fasten off. Grab your little yarn needle and we're going to weave in the short tail into the underside of those stitches on the wrong side of your triangle piece. There we go. Nothing fancy. It's going to sit underneath your eye anyway, and you want 2 of those. Now we're going to make his mouth. We're going to begin with a slip knot. So we're still using yellow. We're going to chain 4. Slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. Single crochet into the next chain, and double crochet into the last chain. And you're going to repeat that twice more. Chain 4, slip stitch into the second chain from the hook, single crochet into the next chain, and double crochet into the last chain. Repeat that once more, and then we've got just a little bit to finish off the mouthpiece with. You should have 3 little triangles all strung together. We're going to chain 1, and now we're going to single crochet back across the top of the wide ends of those triangles. You're going to work 3 single crochets into the edge of each of those triangles. So pick up a piece along the edge of each triangle and work as evenly as you can 3 single crochets across the top of each of those triangles. You'll have 9 single crochets when you get all the way back to your short tail. You can work that last single crochet into the first chain that you began with, and that's it. Fasten off, leaving yourself enough tail that you can sew all the way around your mouthpiece. Grab your short tail and your yarn needle and you can weave this little guy in across the back of those single crochets. Once you've got all of the pieces for your face, your two eyes, and your mouth, you're going to lay them out where you want them. Make sure you curve your mouth up into a little bit of a smile. You can follow one of the edges of the rose there. And then using the same technique we used to sew down our stem, we're going to thread up our tails. You can either pin your pieces into place or hold them into place like I do. You can take these two off. And then just begin sewing by picking up a piece of a stitch along your square and then the corresponding edge piece of your applique and sew down every single one of your pieces. Once you've sewn on all of your pieces, made that little tiny knot and woven in your little tails so that nothing falls out, you are done. That is one spooky jack-o'-lantern or a cute little pumpkin square just in time for October. And that's it! One jack-o'-lantern square, or pumpkin if you want to leave off the face. I hope you enjoyed making the October square along with us, and if you would like a written copy of this pattern, you'll find it in our Etsy shop, and we'll put a link to that in the description box down below. And a super big thank you to everyone who has popped in and done some shopping recently. We really appreciate your support of our show. And that's it! We will see you again really soon on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have an awesome week. Bye everybody!